Before we begin, please note that the information in this video is for educational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional medical, psychological, or psychiatric advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical or mental health condition. You're staring at a blank page. Maybe it's a screen. You have a huge project to plan, a final exam to study for, a life-changing decision to make, and your brain just feels stuck. It's like a traffic jam of thoughts, all honking at once, and nothing is moving forward. You have all these brilliant, disconnected ideas, facts, and worries swirling around in your head, but trying to capture them in a straight line, top to bottom, feels like trying to bottle a hurricane. You make lists, you write outlines, and you just feel more confused, more overwhelmed, more certain that you're missing something huge. We've all been there. That feeling of mental paralysis is one of the most frustrating human experiences. But what if I told you that the tool you're using to think, the linear, list-based, black and white note-taking we were all taught in school, is fundamentally at war with the way your brain is actually designed to work? What if there was a way to untangle that mental traffic jam, not with more rigid structure, but with a technique so simple, so intuitive it feels like you're just doodling? A method that leverages the full power of your mind, not just a fraction of it, and allows you to see the big picture and the tiny details all at the same time. This isn't a futuristic brain implant or some expensive biohacking gadget. It's a pen, a piece of paper, and a way of thinking that geniuses like Leonardo da Vinci and Albert Einstein used instinctively to change the world. It's called mind mapping. And over the course of this series, I'm going to show you how this simple technique can fundamentally upgrade your brain. This isn't just about taking prettier notes. This is about unlocking a superpower you already have. By the end of this journey, you will have a tool that will allow you to learn faster and retain information with stunning accuracy, crush information overload, solve complex problems that once seemed impossible, generate breakthrough creative ideas on demand, and organize your projects, your goals, and even your entire life with a clarity you have never experienced before. We are going to turn that feeling of overwhelming chaos into a feeling of absolute control and confidence. So what is the magic here? Why does this one technique work when so many others fail? The answer is beautifully simple. A mind map works because it is a direct reflection of how your brain works. Your brain does not think in neat, orderly lines and bullet points. Your brain thinks in connections. It thinks in images, in keywords, in explosions of associated ideas. Think about it. If I say the word apple, you don't think APPLE. You might see a red, shiny fruit. You might think of Apple computers, Steve Jobs, New York City, your grandmother's apple pie, the law of gravity. One central idea instantly radiates hundreds, even thousands of connections in a web of thoughts. This is called radiant thinking, and traditional note-taking completely ignores it. It forces your multidimensional, super-fast, radiant brain to slow down and conform to a one-dimensional, single-track line of text. It's like forcing a symphony orchestra to play a song using only a single flute. You lose almost all of the richness, the connection, and the power. A mind map, on the other hand, embraces radiant thinking. It starts with a central idea in the middle of the page, and from there, you branch out. Ideas flow as fast as you can think them. You're not worried about order or structure at first. You're just capturing the explosion. This visual approach does something incredible. It engages your entire brain. Traditional, linear note-taking is a heavily left brain activity. It's all about words, logic, sequence, and analysis. Your right brain, the home of imagination, color, spatial awareness, and big-picture thinking, is basically sitting on the sidelines, bored out of its mind. And that's a tragedy because your right brain is critical for memory and creativity. When you create a mind map, you're using keywords and logic, left brain. But you're also using images, colors, symbols, and spatial arrangement, right brain. Suddenly, you've got both hemispheres fired up and working together. You're not just using half your brain power. You're using the whole symphony. This is why information on a mind map is so much easier to remember. You're creating a rich, colorful, interconnected web of information that your brain can easily latch onto, instead of a boring, forgettable black and white list. Let me tell you a quick story about a project manager named Sarah. Sarah was brilliant, but she was on the verge of burning out. She was leading a massive new product launch and she was drowning. She had spreadsheets, 30-page documents, endless email chains, and sticky notes covering every inch of her office. She felt like she was constantly fighting fires, missing details, and her team was confused about the overall vision. She was a master of lists, but she had lost the plot. One night, completely overwhelmed, She remembered an old seminar she attended on creative thinking. She took out the biggest piece of paper she could find, a flip chart sheet, and in the center, she drew a simple picture of their new product and wrote its name, Project Titan. Then she just started drawing branches. One for marketing, one for engineering, one for budget. Off the marketing branch, she added smaller branches for social media, press release, and launch event. Off engineering, she added prototype, testing, and bug fixes. She used different colors for each main branch. She added little symbols, a $sign for budget, a light bulb for new ideas. For 2 hours she didn't stop. She just dumped every single thought, task, and worry from her brain onto that single sheet of paper. When she was done, she stepped back. And for the first time in months, she felt a wave of calm wash over her. It was all there. The entire complex, terrifying project laid out on one single page. She could see connections she'd never noticed before. How a delay in engineering would directly impact the press release date. She saw where her budget was being stretched thin. She saw opportunities for her team members to collaborate. The fog had lifted. The next morning, she took that single sheet of paper into her team meeting, taped it to the wall and said, "This is Project Titan." Her team's eyes lit up. They finally saw it. They saw how their individual tasks fit into the grand vision. The confusion vanished, replaced by energy and purpose. That single mind map became their roadmap, their source of truth, saving them hundreds of hours and preventing countless mistakes. Sarah didn't just organize her project. She unlocked her team's collective intelligence and turned a chaotic nightmare into a stunning success. That is the power we are talking about. The power to take chaos and turn it into clarity. The ability to see the whole forest and every single tree at the same time. What Sarah did wasn't magic, it was a method, a learnable skill. And it's the same skill that will allow you to ace that exam, write that novel, start that business, or simply get your life organized in a way that feels natural, creative, and incredibly effective. We've just scratched the surface of the why this works with your brain's natural wiring. But how do you actually do it? What are the simple rules that separate a useless, messy scribble from a masterpiece of clarity and genius? In the next part, we're going to get practical. We're going to grab a pen and paper, and I'm going to walk you through the 5 fundamental laws of mind mapping that will change the way you think forever. Alright, let's do this. If you're serious, I want you to literally pause this video, grab a blank sheet of paper, and a few colored pens or pencils. Go on, I'll wait. This isn't just passive learning. This is an active upgrade for your brain. Got them? Good. Place that paper in landscape orientation wider than it is tall. This gives you the freedom to expand your thoughts outwards, not just down a narrow column. Now we begin with the first and most important law of mind mapping. Start in the center with an image. This sounds almost too simple, but it is a non-negotiable foundational rule. Why? Because a central image does 2 critical things. First, it gives your brain a single powerful point of focus. It's the sun around which all your ideas will orbit. Second, and more profound, an image engages a massive portion of your cerebral cortex, specifically your right hemisphere, the seat of imagination, spatial awareness, and holistic thinking. Traditional note-taking, with its lines and lists, is a left brain dominant activity. It's logical, sequential, and, frankly, a little boring for your brain. By starting with an image, you are immediately signaling to your entire mind, wake up, both hemispheres required. This is important. So, for our exercise, let's think of something we want to plan. How about a dream vacation? Let's say a trip to Italy. In the center of your page, I want you to draw a simple image that represents dream Italian vacation to you. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece. A simple drawing of the Colosseum, a slice of pizza, the Italian flag, even just the boot shape of the country. Add at least 3 colors to it. Make it vibrant. This is your anchor. This is the heart of your idea. Done. Excellent. Now for the second law. Create main branches radiating from your central image. Think of these like the chapter headings of a book, or the main arterial roads leading out of a city center. They represent the single most important themes of your topic. For our Italian vacation, what are the big picture categories? Let's draw 4 or 5 thick, curved, organic lines flowing out from our central image. Notice I said curved. Your brain doesn't think in straight, rigid lines. It thinks in associations, connections like the branches of a tree or the neurons in your head. Straight lines are monotonous to your brain. Curved lines are visually engaging and exciting. Now let's label these main branches. And this leads to a crucial subrule. Use 1 keyword per branch. This is a tough one for people. We're trained to write in phrases and sentences. But a single word is infinitely more powerful. A phrase like places we want to visit is restrictive. It defines the content. But a single word like destinations is open-ended. It's a trigger that allows your brain to explode with possibilities. So on our main branches, let's write our keywords. Let's use destinations, budget, activities, and logistics. See how clean that is? Each word sits alone on its own thick, curving branch, a powerful pillar for our thoughts. This brings us to the third law. Add child branches for details, continuing to use single keywords. This is where the magic really starts to happen. Your mind map begins to grow, to breathe. It becomes a living document of your thought process. Let's go to our destinations branch. From that main branch, let's draw smaller, thinner, curved lines radiating outwards. What cities come to mind? Let's add Rome on one branch, Florence on another, Venice on a third. Now from the Rome branch, what comes to mind? Let's add more branches. Colosseum, Vatican, food. From the food branch,
pasta, gelato, espresso.
do you feel that? Do you see what's happening? We are creating a visible external representation of our brain's natural process of association. It's called radiant thinking. One idea sparks another, which sparks three more, in a beautiful, ever-expanding web of thought. Let's jump over to the logistics branch. What keywords could we add there? Flights, hotels, train, passport. Instantly, your brain starts filling in the gaps. Compare this to a list. A list is a cage. It has a beginning and an end. A mind map is a universe. It has a center, but it has no end. You can always add another branch, another idea, another connection. You're not just taking notes. You're building a world. Now let's make this world come alive with the fourth law. Use color throughout your mind map. Color is not just decoration. It is a powerful tool for logic and memory. Your brain is a pattern detection machine, and color is one of its favorite languages. By color-coding your map, you're providing your brain with an instant visual shortcut for organization and recall. Here's how we do it. Let's make the entire destinations family of branches, the main branch and all its children and grandchildren green, the color of exploration and land. Let's make the budget branch and all its sub-branches red, the color of alerts and financial attention. Activities could be orange, the color of energy and fun. Logistics could be blue, the color of cool, calm planning. Suddenly, your map isn't just a collection of words. It's a coded system. At a single glance, you can differentiate between the major themes of your plan. You're engaging your visual processing centers, which work exponentially faster than your language processing centers. Studies have shown that using color can improve memory and recall by as much as 80%. You're not just writing down information, you're searing it into your memory. Finally, we arrive at the fifth law, the one that ties it all together and fully unlocks your whole brain. Use images, icons, and symbols everywhere. Remember how we started with a central image to engage your right brain? Why stop there? Throughout your map, I want you to add simple little drawings. Next to the word flights on your logistics branch, draw a tiny airplane. Next to budget, draw a dollar sign. Next to Colosseum, a quick sketch of some arches. Next to gelato, a little ice cream cone. This is not about being an artist. Stick figures and simple shapes are perfect. The goal is to replace or enhance a keyword with a visual cue. A picture doesn't just say 1,000 words. It triggers 1,000 associations. It creates a stronger, more resilient memory trace in your brain. It makes the entire process more fun, more creative, and infinitely more memorable. When you combine these 5 laws, a central image, radiant branches with single keywords, color coding, and images throughout, you create something extraordinary. You create a tool that speaks your brain's native language. You're no longer forcing your brilliant, multidimensional, associative mind to think in the dull, gray, linear format of a list. You are allowing it to think the way it was designed to think, radiantly, colorfully, and creatively. Look at your piece of paper now. Look at that vibrant, sprawling, interconnected map of a dream vacation. Compare that to what you would have written on a legal pad. A list of cities, a list of tasks. One is a static, two-dimensional document. The other is a dynamic, three-dimensional snapshot of your own mind at work. This simple exercise is just the beginning. You've just learned the fundamental mechanics, the basic grammar of a new language of thought. But learning the alphabet is one thing. Writing poetry is another. Now that you hold the keys, the real question is, what doors are you going to unlock? We've planned a vacation, but what about planning a business? Studying for a life-changing exam? Writing a novel? How did some of the world's most prolific thinkers, from Leonardo da Vinci to Richard Feynman, use these exact principles to architect their genius? Let's start with Leonardo da Vinci. When you look at his famous notebooks, what do you see? You don't see perfectly structured, bullet-pointed lists. You don't see neat, orderly paragraphs marching from left to right, top to bottom. You see an explosion of ideas. You see sketches of flying machines next to anatomical studies, notes on hydrodynamics scrawled beside architectural designs. Words flow around images, arrows connect seemingly unrelated concepts. It's a beautiful, chaotic, and brilliant mess. And it is the blueprint of genius. What Da Vinci was doing intuitively was tapping into the very architecture of his own brain. He wasn't forcing his thoughts into a rigid, artificial structure. He was allowing them to grow organically on the page, just as they grew inside his mind. This is the core principle that separates a mind map from a simple list. It's the difference between looking at a single tree and seeing the entire forest from above. Our brains don't think in straight lines. They don't think in bullet points or numbered lists. They think in connections. They think in associations. Think about the word apple. What just happened in your mind? You didn't just see the letters APPLE. You probably pictured a red or green apple. Maybe you thought of Apple, the company of iPhones and MacBooks. Maybe you thought of New York City, the Big Apple. Or perhaps a memory surfaced, baking an apple pie with your grandmother, the smell of cinnamon filling the kitchen. In a fraction of a second, the single concept of apple radiated outwards, triggering a cascade of images, ideas, memories, and sensations. This is called radiant thinking. Your brain is a super biocomputer running on a network of billions of neurons, and its native language is association. Every idea, every memory is a central hub with tens, hundreds, thousands of connections branching out to other hubs. It's a web, not a ladder. So if our brains are built to work this way, in a radiant, interconnected, explosive fashion, why do we spend our entire lives trying to force them to do the opposite? From the moment we first set foot in a classroom, we are taught the tyranny of the straight line. Take notes from top to bottom. Write essays with a linear introduction, body, and conclusion. Outline your thoughts using Roman numerals, then capital letters, then numbers, then lowercase letters. We are trained meticulously to suppress our brain's natural tendencies. Traditional linear note-taking is not just inefficient, it's an act of cognitive self-sabotage. Let's break down exactly why it fails us so spectacularly. First, it's profoundly boring. A page full of uniform lines of text is a visual desert. It offers no stimulation for your brain, making it incredibly difficult to maintain focus. Your mind wanders because it's desperately seeking something, anything more interesting to latch onto. Second, it actively stifles creativity. When you're writing in a straight line, your brain is focused on getting the order right, on syntax and structure, not on generating new ideas. An idea that might belong later in the sequence gets pushed aside, and by the time you get there, the creative spark is gone. You've prioritized order over insight. Third, linear notes create false hierarchies and information silos. An idea written on line 3 is artificially separated from a related idea on line 37. There's no easy way to see the connection, to draw the line between them. You end up with fragmented knowledge, unable to see the big picture. It's like trying to understand a city by only ever walking down one single street. You might know that street very well, but you have no idea how it connects to the rest of the metropolis. The most critical failure, however, is a neurological one. Traditional note-taking is almost exclusively a left brain activity. Your brain is split into two hemispheres, and while they work together, they have their specialties. The left hemisphere is generally associated with logic, language, numbers, sequence, and analysis. It loves lists and order. The right hemisphere is the domain of imagination, color, rhythm, spatial awareness, and holistic thinking, the big picture. When you take linear notes, you are essentially telling your right brain to sit down and be quiet. You are trying to solve a complex problem, learn a new skill, or plan an ambitious project using only half of your available cognitive power. It's like trying to build a house with one hand tied behind your back. Mind mapping, on the other hand, is a whole brain activity. It's a cognitive handshake between your two hemispheres. The very act of creating one engages both sides in a powerful symphony. The central idea, the keywords, and the logical connections, that's your left brain organizing and analyzing. But the colors you use to differentiate branches, the images and symbols you draw, the curved organic lines, the very spatial layout of the map on the page, That's your right brain adding context, creativity, and memorability. This whole brain engagement is what creates the magic. It's not just twice as effective, it's exponentially more powerful. The synergy between logic and creativity, between words and images, creates a feedback loop. An image drawn on one branch can spark a new logical connection on another. A color-coded theme can reveal a pattern you would have never seen in a black and white list. This is where the aha moments come from. You're mapping out a new business venture. You have a branch for marketing and another on the other side of the page for product features. In a linear outline, these are miles apart, separated by pages of text about finance and logistics. But on your mind map, you notice their physical proximity. You see the keyword user-friendly under features, and the keyword word of mouth under marketing. And suddenly it hits you. A new connection fires across your synapses. What if we build a referral system directly into the product? A feature that encourages word-of-mouth marketing. It's a multi-million-dollar idea that was born not from a spreadsheet, but from the simple spatial connection of two concepts on a piece of paper. This is what you lose when you stick to the straight line. This way of thinking wasn't just for Renaissance artists. Let's jump forward a few centuries to the physicist Richard Feynman, a Nobel laureate famous for his almost supernatural intuition for complex physics. Feynman didn't just think in equations, he thought in pictures. His famous Feynman diagrams are, in essence, mind maps for the bizarre world of subatomic particles. They are simple visual representations of incredibly complex interactions. He used doodles and squiggly lines to bypass the dense linear mathematics and get to the heart of the problem, to see the connections. He engaged his whole brain, combining the rigorous logic of physics with a playful visual creativity. He was externalizing his radiant thinking just like Da Vinci. He was mapping his mind. So we see that this isn't some new age productivity hack. It's a reflection of a fundamental truth about how our brains are designed to operate. We've been taught to build walls between our ideas, to file them away in neat, orderly, and isolated boxes. Mind mapping teaches us to build bridges instead. It honors the messy, interconnected, and beautiful reality of human thought. We know our brains are wired for this. We know some of history's greatest minds have used these principles to architect their genius. And we know our old methods, the methods we were forced to learn, are fundamentally broken and holding us back. The only question left is, how do we actually do it? How do we take a blank piece of paper and turn it into a blueprint for our own genius? The rules are simpler and more powerful than you could ever imagine. It all starts with a single blank piece of paper. Not just any paper and not just any orientation. Go find the biggest, plainest sheet you can find. A legal pad, a sheet from a printer, or ideally a large sketch pad. Now turn it on its side. Put it in landscape mode. This isn't a trivial instruction. We're not writing a list. We're drawing a map of our mind. And our mind doesn't think in narrow vertical columns. It thinks in wide open, panoramic vistas. By turning the page, you're giving your brain the freedom to roam, to expand in every direction without hitting a premature edge. This is your canvas. Next, you need your tools. Forget the single boring blue or black pen. That's the instrument of the linear prison we're trying to escape. Go find a set of colored pens, markers, or pencils. The more colors, the better. Think of them as a new vocabulary. Each color will come to mean something, to represent a different emotional tone, a different category, a different line of thought. This isn't about making it pretty, though it will be. This is about adding another layer of information, another shortcut for your brain to instantly recognize and categorize ideas. You have your canvas and your palette. Now, the first law of mind mapping. Law number 1. Start in the center with an image. Not a word. An image. This is the single most important rule. Our brains are image processors. For millions of years, we navigated the world using pictures, recognizing the shape of a predator or the color of a poisonous berry. The written word is a recent invention, a brilliant but clunky piece of software our brain has to run. An image is the native operating system. When you put a word in the center like vacation, you engage a small specific part of your brain associated with language. But when you draw a picture, even a terrible stick figure drawing of you on a beach with a palm tree, you light up vast regions of your mind. You engage color, shape, dimension, imagination, and emotion all at once. That central image is the heart of your map. It's the sun that all your ideas, the planets, will orbit around. It's the anchor point, the topic, the core question presented in the brain's native language. Don't worry if you can't draw. A simple symbol, a shape, an icon. Anything is better than a naked word. It's the difference between reading the word fire and actually seeing a flame. One is information, the other is an experience. From that central image, you'll begin to radiate outwards. This brings us to law number 2. Create your main branches. Think of your central image as the trunk of a tree. Your main ideas, the big chapter headings of your topic, will be the thick branches that grow directly from that trunk. If your central image is that tropical beach for your vacation plan, your main branches might be location, budget, activities, and packing. These branches should be thick, organic, and curved. They flow outwards, carrying the energy from the center to the edges of the page. And on each of these main branches, you write one single word. 1. This is where people trip up. Their old linear habits kick in. They want to write decide on a location. No, the branch is just location. Why? Because a single keyword is like a key that unlocks 1,000 doors in your mind. The word location can connect to islands, mountains, cities, Europe, Asia, road trips. It's a nexus of infinite possibilities. The phrase decide on a location is a closed loop. It's a command, a task. It's a period at the end of a sentence. A single word is a comma, inviting more to follow. It forces your brain to make the connections itself, which strengthens the memory and understanding 100-fold. Each main branch should also have its own color. Your budget branch might be green. Your activities branch could be an energetic red. This visually separates your core ideas before you've even explored them. Now that you have your main branches, it's time to add the detail. This is law number 3. Use smaller branches for subtopics. From your thick main branch labeled location, you can now draw smaller, thinner branches. These are the twigs growing from the boughs. Here you can put Hawaii, Italy, national parks. From the Hawaii branch, you can add even smaller branches. Maui, Oahu, flights, hotels. You see how it works? You're moving from the abstract to the concrete, from the central idea to the finest detail, in a way that is visually logical. The relationship between ideas isn't hidden in a series of indented bullet points. It's right there in the structure of the map. You can see at a glance that Maui is a sub-idea of Hawaii, which is a sub-idea of location, which is a core component of your vacation plan. Your brain doesn't have to translate a list, just sees it. And again, each of these smaller branches contains just one word or a very simple image. Flights, cost, beach, volcano. Keep it simple. Keep it radiant. This brings us to a crucial point about the structure itself, law number 4. Make your lines curved, not straight. This seems purely aesthetic, but it's deeply neurological. Straight lines are rigid, uniform, and frankly boring to your brain. Nature doesn't work in straight lines. Trees don't grow at 90-degree angles. Rivers don't flow in a perfect grid. Your thoughts don't either. Curved, organic lines are more visually stimulating. They are more natural, more pleasing to the eye, and they reflect the true, associative nature of your thinking. A mind map made of straight, ruler-drawn lines looks like a circuit board, functional but lifeless. A mind map with flowing, curved lines looks like a coral reef or a nebula. Alive, dynamic, and beautiful. This isn't just about art. It's about creating a mental environment that encourages your brain to play, to explore, to make unexpected leaps. The structure itself becomes part of the creative process. Finally, law number 5. Use images throughout the entire map. The central image was the starting gun, not the finish line. As you build your map, populate it with symbols, doodles, and icons. On your budget branch, instead of just the word money, draw a little dollar sign. On your flights branch, a small airplane. On Hawaii, a quick sketch of a volcano. These little images act as powerful visual signposts. They are processed by your brain 60,000 times faster than text. When you look back at your map, your eyes will dart between these icons, instantly recalling the information associated with them. It transforms your notes from a monotonous script into a vibrant visual story. You're creating a treasure map of your own ideas, and the images are the landmarks that guide you through it. It engages your spatial memory, your visual cortex, and your creative faculties all at the same time. This is the difference between reading a travel guide and looking at a beautiful, hand-drawn map of a fantasy world. Which one sparks your imagination more? Which one makes you want to explore? So let's recap the 5 fundamental laws. 1. Start with a central image on a landscape page. 2. Use thick, colored, curved branches for your main ideas, with one keyword per branch. 3. Branch off into smaller, Thinner lines for details, again, one keyword per line. 4. Keep all your lines curved and organic to mimic nature and your brain. And 5. Pepper the entire map with small images and symbols to create a rich visual language. This isn't just a set of instructions. It's a recipe for unlocking a different way of thinking. It's a physical ritual for shifting your brain from a passive recipient of information into an active, creative powerhouse. You are literally drawing your thoughts into existence, giving them shape, color, and connection. You're taking the chaotic, lightning-fast storm of ideas inside your head and organizing it on the page in a way that your brain instinctively understands. Now you have the blueprint. You understand the basic mechanics, the rules of this new game. But knowing how the pieces move on a chessboard is one thing. Seeing the board with the eyes of a grandmaster is something else entirely. We've built the engine, but we haven't yet learned how to redline it. The true power of mind mapping doesn't just come from following these rules, but from knowing how and when to break them. It comes from using the structure not just to organize what you already know, but to generate ideas you never knew you had. We've learned the grammar. Now it's time to learn the poetry. So let's talk about poetry. Because a mind map, when used correctly, isn't a spreadsheet for your brain. It's a canvas. It's a place where logic and imagination can finally have a productive conversation, instead of yelling at each other from across the room. To really understand this, I want to tell you a story about a friend of mine. Let's call him David. David is a brilliant software engineer, one of the best I know. But a few years ago, he was stuck. He had an idea for a startup, a revolutionary app that could change how local communities interact. He knew the tech side inside and out. He could write the code in his sleep. But the business itself? The marketing plan, the user acquisition strategy, the revenue models, it was a tangled mess of spaghetti in his head. He had notebooks filled with linear lists, page after page of bullet points. He had a 30-page document that was supposed to be a business plan, but it was just a dense, unreadable wall of text. He was drowning in his own ideas, paralyzed by the sheer volume of them. The more he tried to force them into a neat, numbered outline, the more slippery and chaotic they became. He was trying to build a skyscraper starting with the 100th floor. One afternoon over coffee, he was venting his frustration, and I grabbed a napkin. I drew a circle in the middle and wrote the name of his app. Nexus. I said. Forget the business plan. Forget the lists. Just talk. What are the biggest, most important things that branch off of Nexus? He hesitated, then said, well, the user. I drew a thick branch off the center and labeled it user. Then he said, and the businesses that will use it. I drew another branch, businesses, then revenue, then technology, then marketing. In less than a minute, the 5 core pillars of his entire company were staring back at him from a coffee-stained napkin. It wasn't a list. It was a constellation. For the first time, he could see the whole universe of his idea on one surface. His energy shifted. He started talking faster. Okay, under user, he said. The biggest thing is engagement. How do we get them to come back? So we drew a smaller branch off user and labeled it engagement. Then off of that we started brainstorming. Gamification, he said. A new branch, community events. Another branch, personalized content. A third. But then something magical happened. He looked at the business's branch across the map. On that side we had sub-branches like subscription tiers and analytics dashboard. He suddenly stopped, pointed a finger that bounced between community events under the user branch and subscription tiers under the business's branch. Wait a minute, he said, his eyes wide. What if we offer businesses a premium tier where they can sponsor the community events? We connect them. The businesses get direct marketing, the users get free fun events, and we generate a new revenue stream. He grabbed the pen and drew a long, swooping dotted line across the entire napkin, physically connecting 2 ideas that were born in completely different parts of his brain. In his 30-page linear document, those 2 ideas were separated by 18 pages of dense text. They would have never met. They existed in different zip codes. On the mind map, they were neighbors, and all it took was a single glance to see the powerful connection between them. This is the poetry. This is the alchemy of mind mapping. It's not about organization. It's about generation. David's breakthrough didn't come from neatly filing away his existing thoughts. It came from creating a visual playground where his thoughts could collide, interact, and create entirely new offspring. Our brains are not Word documents. They are networks. They are chaotic, brilliant, interconnected webs of neurons. And when you try to force that beautiful, messy network into a straight line, you are fundamentally working against your own biology. You're asking a spider to knit a sweater. It's the wrong tool for the job. A mind map mirrors the way your brain actually works, a process called radiant thinking. An idea doesn't form in a straight line. It explodes outwards from a central point, radiating in all directions, triggering associations and memories and other ideas. A mind map simply gets that natural process out of your head and onto a piece of paper. This is why it's so powerful for breaking through creative blocks or solving complex problems. When you're stuck, it's often because your linear logical mind has put up a roadblock. It's saying, no, you can't go there, that doesn't follow from the previous point. A mind map gives you permission to tunnel under that roadblock, to fly over it, to go around it. It encourages what psychologists call divergent thinking, the ability to generate multiple, unique ideas and solutions from a single starting point. Let's try a quick exercise. Think of the word key. Now, if you were making a list, you might write door, lock, car, piano. It's logical. It's linear. Now imagine key in the center of a mind map. Your first branch might be objects, and under that you'd have door, car, piano. But now you're free. You draw another branch, concepts. And off that you get key to success, answer key, key witness, keynote speaker. Then you draw another branch, music. You get key signature, off key. Another branch, geography. You get Florida Keys, Key West. Suddenly, from one simple word, you've exploded into concepts of security, solutions, music theory, geography, and metaphor. You're not just listing what a key is. You're exploring the entire universe of what a key represents. You've connected disparate ideas and created a rich tapestry of meaning. This is precisely what happened with David and his startup. He stopped trying to write a business plan and started mapping a business universe. He began adding images. Next to user engagement, he drew a little trophy for gamification. Next to revenue, he drew a simple $sign. These little icons weren't just decoration. They were engaging the visual, creative parts of his brain, further cementing the ideas and making them easier to recall. He was using his whole brain, not just the logical, language-based part that had been spinning its wheels for months. The result? That napkin sketch turned into a huge whiteboard map that covered his entire office wall. It became the living, breathing blueprint for his company. When he had to hire a marketing manager, he didn't just give them a job description. He walked them over to the marketing section of the map and showed them exactly how it connected to user acquisition, brand voice, and business revenue. The new hire instantly understood the entire strategic landscape, not just their little silo. This is the profound shift. We're taught from a young age to think in outlines. First comes point A, then point B, then point C. But innovation rarely happens in a straight line. Breakthroughs happen when someone connects point A to point M from a completely different alphabet. They happen when a biologist gets an idea from a computer scientist, or a chef gets an idea from a painter. Mind mapping is a tool that allows you to have that multidisciplinary, cross-pollinating conversation inside your own head. It allows you to see the connections that your linear brain was trained to ignore. So the poetry of mind mapping isn't about making your notes look pretty. It's about a fundamental restructuring of how you interact with your own ideas. It's about giving yourself permission to be messy, to make unexpected leaps, to connect the seemingly unconnected. It's about creating a space where a spark of an idea in one corner of your mind can light a fire in another. It's the difference between building with individual bricks, one at a time, and being able to see the entire architectural blueprint at a single glance. You see the whole system, the whole story, the whole business all at once. And from that vantage point, you can make decisions, generate insights, and solve problems with a level of clarity that a simple list could never provide. You stop just managing information and you start generating wisdom. But this creative explosion is only half the battle. You can't build a company from a chaotic map on a whiteboard. You've created this beautiful, sprawling universe of ideas. How do you now collapse that universe back into a concrete, actionable plan? How do you turn the poetry into prose? The answer is you don't. You don't turn poetry into prose. You use the poetry to build a cathedral. You take that raw, explosive energy and you channel it, giving it form, direction, and immense power. This is the critical junction where most brilliant ideas die, not from a lack of creativity, but from a lack of structure. This is where the dreamer must become the architect. And the tool for that transformation is a four-step process I call the collapse and conquer method. It's how you take the beautiful chaos of your mind map and forge it into an unstoppable step-by-step action plan. The very first step is the most painful but also the most important, the pruning. Think of yourself as a master sculptor standing before a giant block of marble. The statue is already inside. Your job is to chip away everything that is not the statue. Your mind map is that block of marble. It's filled with genius but also with distraction, with nice-to-haves, with tangents that will bleed your resources dry. You must be ruthless. You have to be willing to kill your darlings. So you take a new color, a digital highlighter, or just a deep breath, and you scan every single branch, every twig of an idea, and you ask 3 unforgiving questions. Question 1. Is this essential to my core mission? Not. Is this cool? Not. Would this be fun? But, if I don't do this, will the entire project fail? Be brutally honest. If your goal is to launch a new coffee brand, a branch for design custom spacesuits for baristas is probably not essential. It's a cool idea, but it's noise. Cut it. Question 2. Is this feasible right now? This is the reality check. It grounds your vision in the practical world of time, money, and skill. You might have an idea for a massive Super Bowl commercial on your marketing branch. Is it a good idea? Maybe. Is it feasible for a startup with a $5,000 budget? Absolutely not. Cut it. Don't delete it forever. You can always have a someday/maybe list, but for this action plan it has to go. It's a fantasy that will distract you from the real work. And question 3. Does this deliver the highest impact for the lowest effort? This is the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, in action. You're looking for the levers, not the buttons. Which 20% of these ideas will generate 80% of the results? You have 2 marketing ideas left. Launch a viral TikTok campaign and hand out 500 flyers downtown. The flyers are low effort but also incredibly low impact. The TikTok campaign might require more creative energy, but its potential impact is 1,000 times greater. You focus on the TikTok campaign. You prune the flyers. You do this for every single branch, and what's left is a leaner, meaner, more potent version of your original map. It's the skeleton of your success. Now that you've cleared the underbrush, you move to step 2, the clustering. Your map is still a web, a network of connected ideas. To make it actionable, you need to group these ideas into pillars. These are the big thematic buckets that will become the major phases of your project. Look at your pruned map. What are the natural groupings? You'll start to see them emerge. All the ideas related to building the actual product can be circled in blue and labeled Pillar 1, Product Development. All the ideas about getting the word out can be circled in green, becoming Pillar 2, Market Launch. The legal and financial tasks? That's Pillar 3, Operations Setup. You are not redrawing the map. You are finding the hidden structure within it. You are drawing boundaries, creating categories. This act of clustering transforms a sprawling list of concepts into a manageable set of mini projects. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by 100 different ideas, you now only have to focus on 3, 4, or maybe 5 core pillars. This is a massive psychological shift. You're no longer facing a chaotic swarm of bees. You're facing a few well-organized hives. You know what each part of the project is about. You've defined the major battlefronts, but you can't fight on all fronts at once. That leads to step 3, the sequencing. This is where your nonlinear map finally begins its journey into a linear chronological plan. You have to ask the simple, powerful question: what has to happen first? You look at your pillars and you play a game of dependencies. Can I start my market launch, Pillar 2, before I have a product to sell from product development, Pillar 1? No. Can I legally accept money from customers without my operations set up, Pillar 3, in place? No. Suddenly, a logical order appears. Pillar 1 must come first. You need the thing. Pillar 3 probably needs to happen alongside it or immediately after. You need the legal structure. Only then can you begin Pillar 2, the launch. You literally take a pen and write a giant number 1 next to your product development cluster, a giant 2 next to operations, a giant 3 next to market launch. You have just created a high-level project timeline. You've turned a spatial map of ideas into a temporal map of action. You now know not only what you need to do, but the order in which you need to do it. This is the moment the blueprint for the cathedral is finalized. You know where the foundation goes, where the walls go, and where the spire will eventually rise. Finally, we arrive at step 4, the most granular and satisfying step of all, the taskification. This is where the abstract becomes concrete. This is where you convert your ideas into a to-do list so simple and clear that you can't help but start working. You go to your number 1 pillar, product development. You look at the ideas clustered within it. Design UI, code backend, setup database. These are still categories, not tasks. You have to break them down further. Design UI is not a task. It's a project. What's the very first physical action you can take? It might be sketch 3 wireframe options for the homepage. That's a task. It's specific. It's actionable. It has a clear endpoint. You write it down. What's next? Choose primary color palette. That's a task. Select a body font and a heading font. That's a task. You do this for every single idea in every single pillar, in the sequence you've determined. You translate the language of brainstorming, UI/UX, branding, content, into the language of action. Sketch, choose, write, call, upload. By the end of this process, you will have extracted a linear step-by-step checklist from your beautiful chaotic mind map. You can then transfer this checklist into a notebook, a project management app like Asana or Trello, or a simple calendar. The mind map has served its purpose. It was the womb, the incubator where the idea could grow without the constraints of linear thinking. But now the idea is born and it needs a plan to survive in the real world. Through this collapse and conquer method, prune, cluster, sequence, and taskify, you have performed a kind of alchemy. You took the scattered, radiant energy of a brainstorm and you focused it into a laser beam of execution. You haven't sacrificed creativity. You have weaponized it. You've built a bridge from the right side of your brain to the left, from the infinite world of what if to the grounded reality of what's next. But this is just for a single project. What if you could apply this same power not just to build a company, but to learn a new language in record time, to write a novel, to completely redesign your life? What if the mind map wasn't just a tool for planning, but a dynamic system for learning and personal growth? What if I told you the map itself could become a living, breathing dashboard for your goals, evolving with you and actively making you smarter every day? Well, I'm telling you it's not a what if. It's a reality. This is the transition from using a mind map as a static photograph of your thoughts to using it as a living, breathing MRI of your entire life. This is where we move beyond simple brainstorming and enter the realm of building what some call a second brain. Think of your knowledge, your goals, your projects, not as separate files in a filing cabinet, but as a dynamic, interconnected galaxy of ideas. Your mind map becomes the star chart for that galaxy. This isn't a one-and-done diagram you create for a single project and then archive. This is your central operating system, your life OS. It's a single, massive, evolving document that you cultivate like a garden. Let's start with learning. Most of us learn in a linear, fragmented way. We read a chapter in a history book, then watch a documentary on physics, then listen to a podcast about economics. The information goes into our brain, but it lives in separate, walled-off neighborhoods. We remember facts about the American Revolution, and we remember Newton's laws of motion, but we rarely build the cognitive bridges between them. Our brain is capable of making those connections, but our learning methods don't encourage it. A dynamic mind map shatters those walls. Imagine a central node labeled My Knowledge Garden. From this center, you grow primary branches for major subjects you're interested in: physics, history, computer science, psychology, music. Now, let's say you're learning about the Industrial Revolution under your history branch. You map out key inventions, economic shifts, and social changes. One of those inventions is the steam engine. You create a node for it. But wait, the steam engine is a direct application of thermodynamics. So you create a link, a literal visual connection on your map, from the steam engine node in your history section all the way over to the thermodynamics node in your physics branch. What did you just do? You did something profound. You forced your brain to contextualize information across disciplines. You're not just memorizing a fact, you're weaving it into the fabric of your existing knowledge. The next time you think about thermodynamics, you won't just see abstract formulas. You might get a flash of the steam engine, of soot-covered cities, of a pivotal moment in human history. And the next time you think of the Industrial Revolution, you'll have a deeper appreciation for the fundamental scientific principles that powered it. You keep doing this. You're reading about Alan Turing under computer science, and you link his work back to the broader context of World War II in your history branch. You're studying cognitive biases in psychology, and you create a link to Adam Smith's economic theories, realizing how irrational human behavior can shape entire markets. Your map is no longer just a collection of facts. It's a web of insights. It becomes a visual representation of your unique, cross-disciplinary understanding of the world. And here's the magic. Every time you revisit this map, you're not just reviewing one topic. You're reactivating hundreds of neural pathways. You're practicing spaced repetition and interleaving, two of the most powerful learning strategies known to science, without even trying. You are, quite literally, rewiring your brain to think more holistically, more creatively. You're building a rich, interconnected mental model that allows you to see patterns and solutions that others miss. This is how you get smarter actively every single day. Now let's apply this living system concept to your goals. Most goal setting is a disaster. We write down New Year's resolutions on a piece of paper, full of motivation on January 1st, and by February that paper is lost under a pile of mail. The goal is disconnected from our daily reality. A goal dashboard mind map changes the game entirely. Create a new central node. My 2024 mission. Your main branches aren't just goals. They're life areas: career growth, physical health, financial freedom, personal development. Let's dive into physical health. Maybe your big goal is to run your first marathon. So, run a marathon becomes a sub-branch. A traditional to-do list would just say, run more. Useless. Your mind map breaks it down. You create child nodes, training plan, nutrition strategy, gear, mindset and motivation. Under training plan, you map out the 16-week schedule. Weekly mileage goals, long runs, rest days. As you complete a week, you don't just check it off. You change the node's color to green. That visual feedback is incredibly powerful. It's a hit of dopamine. It's a visual record of your progress. Under nutrition strategy, you map out pre-run meals, hydration, post-run recovery. You find a great article on electrolyte balance. You don't just save the bookmark to a folder you'll never open. You summarize the key points in a few notes and link directly to the article from your map. Your map is now a curated library of your best knowledge. Under gear, you map out shoes, clothes, GPS watch. When you buy your running shoes, you mark the node complete, and maybe even add a note about how they feel after the first 50 miles. This isn't a static plan. It's a command center. You review it every Sunday. You see the green nodes of your completed weeks and feel a surge of pride. You see the upcoming week and know exactly what you need to do. You hit a snag, maybe your knee starts hurting. You add a new branch, injury prevention, and start mapping out stretching routines and research on proper form. The map adapts with you. It's not a rigid set of instructions you're failing to follow. It's a dynamic partner in your journey. Now zoom out. You're doing this for your health. You're also doing it for your career, mapping out the skills you need for that promotion and tracking the projects that will get you there. You're doing it for your finances, mapping out your debt repayment strategy and your investment goals. All of it on one screen. You can see at a glance how your effort in one area might be affecting another. Maybe you realize your intense marathon training is leaving you too tired to study for that certification for work. Your map makes this conflict obvious, allowing you to adjust your strategy. Maybe shift a long run to a different day before you burn out. You're no longer just managing tasks. You're managing your life's energy and focus at a strategic level. This is the ultimate form of metacognition, thinking about your own thinking, learning, and doing. The map is a mirror reflecting your priorities, your progress, and your challenges. It takes all the swirling chaos in your head, all the ambitions, worries, and random bits of information, and externalizes it into a structured, manageable, and inspiring system. It stops being a tool you use and becomes an extension of your own mind, a clearer, more organized, and more powerful version of you. But building this second brain requires more than just pen and paper. To truly make it a dynamic, searchable, and interconnected system, you need to leverage the right digital tools and a few advanced, almost counterintuitive techniques. What if the most powerful mind maps aren't just about branching out, but about creating intelligent loops and feedback systems that automate your own improvement? Let's start with the tools, because in the digital age, our thinking can be amplified. Pen and paper are fantastic for the initial spark, for that raw tactile connection. But to build a truly intelligent system, we need capabilities that paper just can't offer. Think of it like this: a paper map is a static snapshot. A digital map is a living, breathing GPS that reroutes in real time. The first superpower digital tools give you is the infinite canvas. You never run out of space. Your idea for a new business doesn't have to stop at the edge of the page. It can grow, expand, and breathe. You can add 100 branches, then 1,000 without ever feeling constrained. The second is frictionless editing. On paper, a misplaced idea is a messy scribble, a frustrating erase mark. Digitally, it's a simple drag and drop. You can restructure your entire map in seconds, changing colors, reorganizing entire hierarchies, and experimenting with connections without penalty. This isn't just a convenience, it's a cognitive liberation. It encourages you to be messy, to be wrong, to experiment, because the cost of changing your mind is zero. But the real game changer, the feature that elevates a mind map from a simple diagram to the central dashboard of your brain, is hyperlinking. The ability to connect a node, a single word on your map, to anything else on the internet. A research paper, a video tutorial, a specific note in your Notes app, a task in your project manager. Suddenly, your mind map isn't just a collection of your ideas. It's a visual index to all the world's information, curated and organized by you. This leads us directly to the first advanced technique, the feedback loop map. Most people use mind maps for brainstorming, a one-time event. But the real power comes from creating maps that are dynamic, that you return to day after day. Let's imagine you want to learn a new complex skill, say mastering data science. A beginner's map would have branches like Python, statistics, machine learning. That's a good start, a simple checklist. An advanced feedback loop map, however, is structured as a learning engine. The central topic is mastery, data science. Your main branches aren't just topics, they are actions and processes. One branch is core concepts. Here you map out the curriculum. Another is projects. This is where you'll apply the concepts. A third, crucially, is feedback and analysis. And a fourth is refinement and focus. Here's how the loop works. You study a concept from the core concepts branch, say linear regression. Then you apply it in a project from your projects branch. After you finish, you go to the feedback and analysis branch. You document what went wrong. Did you struggle with the code? Was the statistical theory fuzzy? You link to your messy code, you write down the specific questions you couldn't answer. This isn't just a to-do list, it's a what went wrong list. Now the loop closes. You take the insights from feedback and analysis and use them to create new nodes in the refinement and focus branch. A new node might be deep dive, Python's scikit-learn library, or review, the assumptions of linear regression. These new nodes become your priority for the next learning session. You're no longer just passively following a curriculum. You are actively using your own points of failure to dictate the curriculum. The map is no longer just a plan. It is a self-correcting system that automates your improvement. It learns from your mistakes, ensuring you spend your time shoring up your weakest points, not just reviewing what you already know. This concept of a living map leads us to the second advanced technique, the second brain hub map. This is where we stop thinking of mind maps as individual documents for individual projects and start thinking of one master map as the visual interface for your entire digital life. Many of us use a dozen different apps. One for notes, one for tasks, one for calendar, cloud storage for files. It's a scattered, fragmented system. We have all the information, but we can't see the connections. The hub map solves this. You create one central mind map, maybe titled My Life OS or Command Center. The main branches are the core areas of your life using a system like Para, projects, areas, resources, and archive. Under projects, you list your current active goals, launch new website, plan vacation, complete Q3 report. But here's the key. These nodes don't contain the details. Instead, they contain hyperlinks. The Launch New Website node links directly to your project management board in Trello or Asana. It links to the Google Drive folder with all the assets. It links to the master strategy document in your Notes app. The Areas branch contains your ongoing responsibilities, health and fitness, finances, apartment management. The Health and Fitness node might link to your workout tracking app, your meal plan document, and a research article you saved on supplements. You're not duplicating information. You are creating a single visual layer on top of everything. You can, at a glance, see the relationship between a project, an area of your life, and the resources you've gathered. You can see how the Q3 report project connects to your career growth area. This visual overview is impossible to achieve when your information is locked away in separate, linear lists. The hub map becomes your personal table of contents, the only bookmark you truly need. Now, building these massive, interconnected systems creates a new problem: complexity. A map that grows forever eventually becomes a tangled mess, a digital junkyard that creates anxiety instead of clarity. This brings us to a final counterintuitive technique: aggressive pruning. The common wisdom is to always add more. Capture everything. But just as a gardener must prune a rose bush to get the best blooms, you must prune your mind maps to maintain their power. Synaptic pruning is a natural process where the brain eliminates unused neural connections to increase efficiency. We must do the same for our second brain. Schedule a time, maybe once a month, to review your hub map. Ask yourself, is this project still active? Is this resource still relevant? Is this branch just a dead-end idea I'm clinging to? And then be ruthless. Move completed projects to your archive branch. If an idea has sat dormant for 6 months with no action, delete it or move it to a separate, someday/maybe map. This feels wrong at first. Feels like you're losing something. But what you gain is far more valuable: clarity and focus. Pruning forces you to reevaluate your priorities. It keeps your map lean, relevant, and centered on what truly matters right now. A pruned map is a powerful map. It reflects not just everything you could be doing, but everything you should be doing. By combining the infinite canvas of digital tools, the self-correction of feedback loop maps, the holistic overview of a hub map, and the disciplined focus of aggressive pruning, you transform mind mapping from a simple brainstorming tool into a sophisticated system for thinking, learning, and executing. You're not just scattering ideas onto a page anymore. You are architecting your own intellect. You're building a personalized system that doesn't just hold your ideas, but actively helps you improve them. We've engineered the system. We've automated the feedback. We've organized the knowledge. But all of this relies on one critical ingredient: the quality of the initial ideas we feed into the system. What good is a powerful engine if the fuel is mediocre? How do we ensure the seeds we plant in our mind maps are seeds of genuine innovation? What if we could use the structure of mind mapping itself to force our brain to make novel connections it would never make on its own? The answer lies in a principle that seems counterintuitive: deliberate chaos. It's about intentionally short-circuiting your brain's well-worn pathways. Think of your mind like a pristine, snow-covered field. Your first thought walks a straight line across it. The next thought is likely to follow those same footprints because it's the path of least resistance. Soon, you have a deeply grooved trench that you can't escape. Advanced mind mapping isn't about digging that trench deeper. It's about forcing yourself to leap out of it and make fresh tracks where none exist. The first and most powerful technique for this is called random input. It's beautifully simple and terrifyingly effective. Once you have your central idea and your main branches on your map, say you're trying to reinvent your local coffee shop, you stop. You then introduce a completely random, unrelated word or image. Go to a random word generator online, flip open a dictionary and point, or look out your window and pick the first object you see. Let's say the word is dinosaur. Now on your mind map, you draw a new branch and label it dinosaur. And you force a connection. Your logical brain will scream, "This is stupid. Dinosaurs have nothing to do with coffee." That's the point. You're silencing the logical editor and activating the creative synthesizer. So, how does a dinosaur connect to a coffee shop? Your brain starts to desperately search for links. Dinosaur big. What if we offer a brontosaurus-sized coffee? Dinosaur. Extinct. What about a campaign focused on saving you from the extinction of the morning slump? Dinosaur. Jurassic Park. What if we created a lush, plant-filled, prehistoric-themed interior? A coffee jungle? Dinosaur. Fossils. Could we create a loyalty program where you dig up rewards? Or maybe create stencils to make fossil patterns in the latte foam? Suddenly, from one absurd word, you have 5 concrete, unique ideas you would have never, ever reached through logical, linear thinking. You have deliberately broken your own cognitive patterns. This isn't just a party trick. It's a way of hijacking your brain's associative machinery. Every concept in your mind is part of a vast web. The concept of coffee is closely linked to morning, energy, and warmth. It's very distantly linked to dinosaur. By forcing those two distant nodes to connect, you create a brand new neural pathway. That new pathway is the very definition of a creative idea. But what if you want a more structured approach to this chaos? A system for generating innovative fuel? For that, we turn to a powerful creative toolkit known as Scamper. It's an acronym, a checklist of questions you can apply to any part of your mind map to twist it into new forms. Let's stick with our coffee shop. First, S is for substitute. You create a branch off your central idea called substitute. What can we substitute? The beans? What if we offered mushroom coffee or chicory blends? The milk? We can offer a huge range of plant-based milks. The barista? What about a fully automated robotic coffee experience for speed and novelty? Next, C is for combine. What can we combine with our coffee shop? A bookstore is classic. But what else? A bike repair station? A co-working space? A podcast recording studio that people can rent by the hour? A flower shop? Each of these combinations creates a fundamentally new business model. A is for adapt. How can we adapt another industry's model to ours? Let's look at the tech world. What about a coffee as a service subscription model? Customers pay a monthly fee for unlimited coffee. What about adapting the Netflix model? A curated, what to drink next recommendation engine based on your past orders. M is for modify. This is about changing an attribute. Modify the size. We talked about the Brontosaurus cup, but what about flight-size coffee tastings? Modify the shape of the store. Instead of a square room, what if it was a long winding coffee journey path? Modify the sound. What if different zones of the shop had different music and ambient noise for different moods? One for focus, one for socializing. P is for put to another use. Can we use parts of our business for something else? The used coffee grounds could be packaged and sold as fertilizer or skin exfoliants. The space itself, after hours, could be rented out for events, poetry slams, or workshops. E is for eliminate. What can we remove to simplify the experience? Eliminate the long menu to focus on 5 perfect, signature drinks. Eliminate the queue by making it a mobile order-only establishment. Eliminate cash entirely. Elimination is one of the most powerful forms of innovation. Finally, R is for reverse or rearrange. Reverse the process. Instead of customers coming to us, we go to them with a high-end coffee delivery service for offices. Rearrange the layout. Put the milk and sugar station right at the entrance, not the exit. Reverse the roles. Have a Be the Barista experience where customers can learn to make their own perfect latte. By creating a main branch for Scamper, and then sub-branches for each letter, you have built an idea generation machine directly into your mind map. You are no longer waiting for inspiration. You are systematically interrogating your central idea from 7 different innovative angles. These techniques, random input and Scamper, are about changing the content of your map. But there's a third, more profound technique that changes the very structure of your thinking. It's called question-based mapping. Most people build mind maps with statements. The central bubble is new coffee shop. The branches are marketing, menu, decor. It's a map of nouns of known categories. It's static. Now, imagine if every single node on your map was a question. The central idea is no longer new coffee shop. It's, how can we create the most beloved community hub in our neighborhood? The main branches are no longer static categories. They become driving questions. Instead of menu, the branches, what would our customers be devastated to not see on our menu? Instead of marketing, it's, how can we make our first 100 customers feel like founding members? Instead of decor, it's, how can the physical space make someone's day better? Even before their first sip of coffee, do you feel the shift? A statement is a dead end. Question is the beginning. It demands an answer. Each sub-branch then becomes a sub-question. Under how can we make our first 100 customers feel like founding members? You might have branches like, what's an unforgettable welcome gift we could give them? How could we learn and remember all of their names? And could we feature their stories on a founder's wall? This approach transforms your mind map from a passive organizational tool into an active engine of inquiry. It forces you into a state of curiosity and exploration, rather than just documentation. You are mapping not what you know, but what you need to discover. This is the mindset that leads to genuine breakthroughs because you're starting from a place of, how might we? Instead of what is. By combining these 3 advanced methods, the chaotic spark of random input, the structured brilliance of Scamper, and the deep curiosity of question-based mapping, you elevate the entire process. You're no longer just organizing information. You are building a sophisticated mental scaffold designed to generate novel, high-quality, and often revolutionary ideas. You are ensuring the fuel you put into your engine is not mediocre. It is high-octane. We've now learned how to turn a blank page into a sprawling, interconnected galaxy of powerful ideas. We've filled our map with rocket fuel and revolutionary concepts, branching out in ways we never thought possible. But here lies the final critical challenge. A map bursting with brilliant, chaotic energy can be just as overwhelming as a blank page. A map of a treasure island is useless if it's drawn in a language you can't understand. How do you transform this beautiful, complex masterpiece of thought into a simple, coherent, step-by-step plan that actually works? How do you go from mind map to life map? The answer is a process of ruthless, intelligent simplification. It's about forging a bridge between the world of infinite possibility and the world of concrete reality. We're going to distill that beautiful, sprawling map into pure, unadulterated action. The first step is what I call the priority pass. Look at your map. I mean, really look at it. It's a galaxy of ideas, but not all stars shine with the same brightness. Some are distant, faint possibilities. Others are blazing suns, the gravitational center of your entire project. Your job right now is to find those suns. Take a different colored pen or a digital highlighter and scan your entire map with one question in mind. What are the absolute game changers here? What are the 20% of ideas that will deliver 80% of the results? This isn't about what's easy, it's about what's essential. If you're mind mapping a business launch, choose a cool company name is fun, but validate the product idea with 10 potential customers is essential. That's a sun. You're looking for the linchpins, the critical nodes that, if activated, make everything else possible. If you're mapping out a plan to get in shape, buy new workout clothes is a satellite, but schedule 3 non-negotiable gym sessions per week is a sun. Be ruthless. Don't highlight more than a handful of key branches or nodes. You're not destroying your map. You're simply identifying your strategic command centers. By doing this, you've already defeated the first wave of overwhelm. You've taken 100 paths and narrowed them down to 3 or 4 major highways. Now, with your priorities glowing on the page, you move to the second step, the sequencing scan. This is where you bring the dimension of time into your two-dimensional map. You have your critical tasks, but in what order must they happen? This is about finding the logical domino chain. You can't build the walls of a house before you've laid the foundation. You can't market a product you haven't created. Look at your highlighted priorities and number them. Ask yourself, what is the absolute first thing that must happen for anything else to be possible? That's number 1. Then, given that number 1 is complete, what is the very next logical step? That's number 2. Let's say you've highlighted find a supplier, build a website, and create a marketing plan. You can't build a website selling a product you can't source. So, find a supplier is probably number 1. You could argue that you can build the website while you're finalizing the supplier, but you certainly can't launch your marketing plan until the website is live and the product is ready. So the sequence might be 1. Find supplier 2. Build website 3. Create marketing plan. In a few minutes, you've transformed a cloud of priorities into a sequential logical progression. You've created a timeline. This leads us to the most important step of all. The step where most people fail and where you are going to succeed. It's called task translation. This is where the magic of the mind map meets the brutal effectiveness of a to-do list. An idea on a mind map is an abstraction. Build website is not a task. It's a project. It's a destination. You can't do a destination. You can only take the individual steps that get you there. Task translation is the process of breaking down each of your sequence priorities into the smallest, most concrete, physical actions you can take. Take your number 1 priority. Let's say it's find a supplier. What does that actually mean? What are the literal keyboard tapping, phone calling actions involved? You break it down. Find a supplier becomes 1. Google print-on-demand t-shirt suppliers in the US. 2. Open a spreadsheet and list the top 10 results. 3. Spend 10 minutes on each of their websites to find their pricing pages. 4. Email the top 3 with a request for a sample pack. Do you see the difference? Find a supplier is vague and intimidating. Google print-on-demand t-shirt suppliers in the US is a specific 10-minute action you can do right now. You're translating the language of ideas into the language of action. Each of these microtasks should be so simple, so clear, that there is zero ambiguity about what you need to do. It should start with a verb, call, email, write, design, research, buy. You do this for every single one of your sequence priorities. Yes, it takes a little time, but this is the work that separates the dreamers from the doers. Finally, we arrive at the last step, the one that anchors your plan in reality. Calendar integration. A to-do list is a wish list. Calendar is a commitment. You're going to take those beautifully translated bite-sized tasks and give them a home. You open your Google Calendar, your physical planner, whatever you use, and you schedule them. Not as a vague list for Tuesday, but in specific time blocks. Google Print-on-Demand Suppliers goes into your calendar for Tuesday at 10 a.m. Email Top 3 Suppliers goes in for Wednesday at 2 p.m. You are literally carving out a piece of your life and dedicating it to that specific action. When you do this, something profound happens. The task is no longer a floating should. It becomes a non-negotiable appointment with your future self. It's as real as a doctor's appointment or a meeting with your boss. You've made a promise. And this is how monumental goals are achieved. Not through a single heroic leap, but through a series of small scheduled and executed promises. What we've just done is more than just project management. We've fundamentally changed the nature of the idea itself. We started with a chaotic, radiant explosion of thought, the mind map. It was pure potential, a reflection of how our brains actually think. Then we honored that complexity, but we refused to be paralyzed by it. We became translators. We respected the nonlinear nature of creativity, and then we systematically built a linear path right through the middle of it. Your mind map is the architect's grand, visionary blueprint. The sequenced, translated, and calendared tasks are the construction crew's daily work schedule. You cannot build a skyscraper with just the blueprint, and you can't build it with a crew that has no plan. You need both. The genius of this process is that it allows your brain to do what it does best at each stage. It allows for wild, uninhibited creation at the beginning, and then provides a framework for disciplined, focused execution at the end. This is the bridge. This is how you go from mind map to life map. You are taking the abstract energy of a dream and grounding it into the physical world, one calendar block at a time. It's the ultimate defense against procrastination, because you're never again faced with the terrifying question of, what do I do now? You always know the next tiny simple step, and by completing that tiny step you build momentum. It's a psychological cheat code. The confidence you gain from emailing those 3 suppliers fuels you to tackle the next task and the next and the next. So let's bring this all home. Over this journey, we've explored the deep mechanics of your own mind. We started with a blank page and learned that it wasn't a void to be feared, but a space to be filled. We learned to ditch the tyranny of linear lists and embrace the radiant, associative power of our own neurology. We connected ideas, we found hidden patterns, we gave form to the formless. We built a visual representation of our own thinking. But a map is only valuable if it leads you somewhere. Today we learned how to read that map, how to find the most important landmarks, how to chart a course between them, and how to translate that course into the individual footsteps of the journey. The space between who you are and who you want to be, the gap between the idea you have and the reality you want to create, that space is not empty. It's a map waiting to be drawn. And the most incredible part? You have always held the pen. So here is my challenge to you. Not next week, not tomorrow, but today. Take one idea. The one that keeps you up at night. The one that excites and terrifies you in equal measure. Grab a piece of paper and spend just 15 minutes mind mapping it. No judgment. No rules. Just let it flow. Then when you're done, find one single branch. And from that branch, find one single leaf. Translate that leaf into one tiny physical action you can take in the next 24 hours. And then right now, put it in your calendar. That single scheduled action is everything. It's the first step. It's the proof. It is the moment your brain's potential stops being a theory and starts becoming your reality.